ABC Sports continues its coverage of the world's most famous cycling event, the American Part of Go Network. Welcome back to the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. I'm Paul Page with Parker Johnstone. That man, Roberto Moreno, is the leader of the race, and we expect him in the pits anytime. While we were away, one incident, but it did involve the fourth-place car. Adrian Fernandez got in trouble on the long lakeside straight, spun it around, got it back under control. He was able to re-enter the circuit, head into the pits, pick up fuel and a new set of tires. But it cost him greatly. He fell way down through the order and now is 17th. But here comes the leader of the race.
Just the guys in front of you. Target guys are out. Target guys are out, but clean pit.
Patrick, team manager Jim McGee talks to him. Gary?
Yep, Jim McGee telling him that the target pit, that's Juan Montoya, which is just in front of Moreno's pit, is now clear. There's a slot between the two, so there's a little extra room. Now they go to work. Got the helmet cam on Mark Schomburger right front, waving him out. 12 seconds on the stop.
Gil DeFerrin picked up the lead of the race. Montoya came in as well at the same time as Roberto Moreno. There is DeFerrin. So here we have a change in the situation that we had from a week ago as Mauricio Guzman also comes into the pits, where the Penske team is keeping their car out longer.
Very different strategy. Usually Moreno and Fernandez, the two Pat Patrick drivers, can get mileage beyond anybody else in the paddock. But here's DeFerrin staying out for yet another lap. So he, in the previous lap, Michael Andretti stayed out. But now they're coming in. But DeFerrin now getting great mileage, trying to make this a two-stop race.
Go around Michael's, guys. We're
Michael Andretti, we send you down to the pits again.
Guys.
Yes, and of course he was able to go one more lap than Moreno. That could be a big advantage. Here comes Christian Fittipaldi, his teammate, at the same time. You see at the front of the car, they have an extended nose that they're using.
Watch Jimmy.
12.5 for him. Christian Fittipaldi's clear. He's out of here as well. Good stop for both Newman Haas cars.
Gil DeFerrin is still on the circuit, still in the lead. With those stops, Paul Tracy up to second place. There's DeFerrin. Tell you what, he's getting pretty amazing mileage. It looks like this time he's going to head for the pit road. And in fact, he does. So Gil DeFerrin, who picked up the lead of the race from Roberto Moreno on the stop, now makes his first stop of the day.
Good job here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's Roger Penske with the instructions. It's like landing here at an airport. They've adjusted the tire pressures for DeFerrin. We're anticipating one turn on front wing. Haven't seen it yet up front. There'll be no wing change up front. He's rolling, Jan.
Paul Tracy has just left. Dario Franchitti is getting his service. He's got the tires waiting for fuel. Another quick stop, 12.5 for Franchitti. Boy, a lot of good stops down here today.
And with those stops, Jimmy Vasser picks up the lead of the race. Brian Herta moves into second place.
We've talked about the engine battle all year long. We saw the Fords come in first, the Honda second. Now Jimmy Vasser with Toyota power is staying out, but followed behind him is Brian Herta with a Mercedes. So at this point, the Toyota and Mercedes power plant being run a little bit more conservatively, getting a little better mileage. This will be advantageous if this race continues to go green. That means that they'll be able to stay out longer, which means that they can run harder before they have to come in for that final stop.
Of course, we do have to remember both of those cars actually pitted on the 13th lap. So they are out of sequence with the rest of the field, but that doesn't change the argument relative to how far they can in fact go and how many stops they make within the race. Vasser, Herta, they should lead for another 10, 12 laps at least before they have to head in.
At this point, they've got to get at least 33, 34 laps. These guys are out of sequence, so they're going to be hoping for a yellow sometime before the race is over.
Road course rules apply here. A quick off of the course back on, like you saw with Adrian Fernandez. That necessitates only a yellow flag displayed at the corner station, manned by the volunteer workers, primarily from the Sports Car Club of America. And then as soon as he's back running properly, they drop the flag. If it's more severe than that, like Mark Blundell or like the first lap, then they display yellow flags all around the course, and they bring the pace car out and slow the field down so the safety workers can do their job and turn the race course back into a safe condition and clear off any of the drivers and wreckage that may in fact be a problem. Here is Roberto Moreno coming right at you. He is third place. Now, he is behind Vasser and Herta. We just told you that they are probably 10, 12 laps away from a stop. And so Moreno will pick up the lead of the race. The interval that's going to be important is that one right there. The distance from Roberto Moreno back to Gilles de Ferran. There's Michael. Michael's a little further down. He sits currently 8th. But unless they get a caution, a full course caution, that will aid Jimmy Vasser and Brian Herta, then Roberto Moreno's interval to de Ferran is what you should keep in mind at all times. We'll take you back to the pits again.
Yes, Paul, as far as the Target team goes, they have split their pits this week. They have also split the way they run their cars. For Juan Montoya, he has that nose extension on the car that you may have seen during Michael Andretti's pit stop. The Lolas are using it so they run a longer wheelbase so the car is more stable over the bumps and has more weight on the rear of the car. Jimmy Vasser, on the other hand, has not gone that route. He's gone with the traditional wheelbase on the Lola, so two different ways of running for the Target team.
And the problem is the longer wheelbase does give you more stability over the bumps, but that means that it's slower to transition from left to right or right to left. So they're sacrificing a faster turning or reacting car for a little bit more stability over the bumps.
You saw Jimmy Vasser's car. Now, as he comes around, here is Montoya's car.
You can see right there, look at that nose extension. There's a flat plane before it downslopes to the tip of the nose. That allows them to slope the rear suspension forward and extend the front wheels, extending the overall wheelbase.
Montoya is working on Kenny Breck. That is a battle for 10th place. Still Vasser and Herta at the front, separated by 2 seconds. It's a typical 4th of July weekend here in Cleveland, across most of the country, I guess, for that matter. One of those lazy days of summer, hot, humid. The wind has been coming from off the lake, and it shifted to off the land this morning, and that made it a little bit more uncomfortable, but it didn't deter the crowds that have come here. There's Norberto Fontana driving for John Della Penna. He's on the same pit situation as Vasser and Herta. He currently sits in 5th place. Another Toyota engine-powered machine. We'll take you back to 7th place, and we'll go on board with Max Pappas, winner of the first race of the year at Miami.
Coming out of turn 4, the short chute from 4th to 5th, back to 4th. This left-hander just at 3 Gs, 95 miles an hour. Very bumpy through here, long sweeping, constant radius corner through 6, 7, and 8, about 135 miles an hour. But watch what happens here. It's off camber, big bump at the apex, and puts you out right against the concrete wall, coming down the long straight into the pit entry. Fastest part of the track here, just over 180 miles an hour.
7th place Pappas is one of those who stopped on lap 13.
We've got one of the team green cars that Max went by right there.
Tracy.
Yep, that's Paul Tracy.
Tracy just suddenly slowed over on the pit straight. D'Amata, be careful. Paul Tracy, that was sudden. He had a pretty big engine blow up during qualifying, so no telling what this is, but he pulls off the end at the exit of the pit road and behind the barrier, and it appears that Paul Tracy's day is done, and just that quickly.
That was a very professional maneuver. He was able to get back from the inside to the outside of the track. Didn't really endanger anyone, and he was able to get it back behind the barriers, keeping the track green.
Jimmy Vasser, leader of the race on the pit road. Jan Bikas waits for him.
Yes, and I can tell you right next door is Team Cool Green. I just ran over there to find out that it turns out Paul Tracy, the problem is gearbox. But for right now, Jimmy Vasser is looking for 4 tires for fuel. A little bit of a slow right rear. Oh, now the valve, which that seems like just a couple little miscues, but that still turned out to be 11.9. So you can do it even though it looks a little bit rough.
And that turns the lead of the race over to the man who is replacing Tony Kanaan in the cockpit of this car. Brian Herta, who's driven replacement for a couple of different teams this year. He originally started out with a full-time ride, but there have been some problems with that, so he's been driving replacement for a number of different drivers, and here he is leading Mercedes Power in the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. Michael Andretti's last stop. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC station. Welcome back to the Burke Lakefront Airport in the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. There is the leader, Roberto Moreno. While we were away, Brian Herta made his stop. That took him out of the lead. Also, Mark Blundell's stop, as well as Max Pappas. So it is now Moreno, DeFerrin, Andretti, and Christian Fittipaldi. Moreno started on the pole. He's led for 37 of the 47 laps run thus far. He only gave up when he came in for the pits, and they cycled through the field. But Gil DeFerrin, the second-place car, now may have a problem. Gary Gerald?
Paul, he in fact has a significant problem. It relates to his rear brakes. When he came in on the stop, there was some fluid inside the left rear. They thought it might be brake related. They've been monitoring the situation. Now with radio conversations with Gil, they've confirmed that they do have a significant braking problem. We saw him almost lock up going into turn 1 2 laps ago. Last time going by, he kind of tiptoed into that corner. The team says they told him to try to adapt or adjust the brake bias as best he can in the cockpit, then adapt his driving style. He'll just try to plug away as best he can, but he may not be nearly as competitive, even though he still runs in second place.
You know, despite the fact he's having that problem, he's really not falling that far behind that quickly. He crosses the line behind Moreno.
And he's fortunate to have that problem here, Paul, because most of these corners are momentum corners. You take a lot of speed into, through, and out of the corners. It's only here in turn 1 where you really have to stand on the brakes. Gil's a very adaptable driver. He can, as Gary said, he'll adjust the brake bias to try to use more front brakes, a little less rear, putting a little less strain on the rear reservoir and system. And right now, he's been able to, he's losing a little bit to Moreno, a few tenths every lap, but he's been able to keep the interval between he and Andretti pretty constant. They're slowly creeping up on him, but not very fast.
Here comes Michael Andretti with his teammate Christian Fittipaldi, the 2 black cars. And it's a battle third, well, all the way back through 6th. 7th, really, is now Franchitti, and that green and white car joins the battle. Michael with Fittipaldi working on him. Michael is 3rd. Kenny Brack behind Fittipaldi's having a pretty good run today. The 99 Indy 500 champion, leading the rookie point standings in the FedEx Series right now. But look who he's got behind him, Montoya. Yeah, that's comforting. Look up, see him in your rearview mirrors. Oh, goody.
And historically, if you look at the results at Cleveland, Bobby Rahall's car and his cars have always been very good with the bumps here.
You'll see a lot of that. They can do it and get away with it, and so they do.
And we've seen good performances from Breck and Pappas during the course of this weekend. Montoya's engineer is Bill Pappas, who used to be Gil DeFerrin's engineer. Bill Pappas has always produced a good car here at Burke Lakefront Airport. Dario Franchitti, the car trailing Montoya, he's had good performances here in the past. He was quickest, took the provisional pole on Friday. So you've got a whole group of cars, including these 2, the Newman-Haas cars, who have a very unique shock absorber system with lines that interconnect from side to side to help deal with the bumps here at Burke Lakefront. So all of these cars at the front have engineers or personal histories of doing well at this racetrack.
This battle is tightening up. Alex Tagliani has joined it as well behind Franchitti, and Cristiano D'Amata is in there. This is the look down at Andretti and Fittipaldi from the Honda Helicam. Kenny Brack comes into view, so does Montoya and Franchitti. They're going 3rd all the way back to 9th with that battle.
And as we approach the halfway point here, this is where we start to see mechanical problems. Remember, they've only been on 2 temporary courses this year at Long Beach and Detroit. We saw some gearbox, some half-shaft failures there. This place is far bumpier than any other circuit. And I would expect from here on in, we'll see cars periodically dropping out with mechanical problems.
You're looking at 2 teammates, Michael Andretti and Christian Fittipaldi. Upper left, we'll show you the rest of the teams. And who drives for each of those teams? Of course, Moreno is the leader. Driving for Pat Patrick, Adrian Fernandez drives with him. Fernandez currently 13th. Max Pappas suddenly slows. He drives off. That's a safe area that he can drive off.
Max, park in the safe spot. Thanks for doing your best today.
Series
Miller guys, back up.
Series sponsor FedEx has neatly parked one of their 727s off there. Hope Max gets it stopped before they get there.
Looks like Max is just going to load up and go to Toronto from here.
Just park here in the shade.
I like it.
Max Pappas, I'll tell you what, that man does have a flair. Jan Vikas?
Yes, and it seems like it's the exact same problem that happened to Paul Tracy. Gearbox related. That's what put Max Pappas out of this one.
Oh, Parker, you predicted gearboxes, half shafts, constant velocity joints. It looks like it's coming to pass, and when it happens very quickly. Roberto Moreno is still the leader. Second place, Jill DeFerrin. Michael Andretti all the way back through 9th place. Cristiano D'Amata continue to battle. Moreno looks for his first win. We'll be back.